All right, everyone, welcome back for another episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Thursday, April 21st, 2022. If you like the content and if you're not done so already, like, comment, subscribe. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts and analysis. This is a tough market to trade. We need all the help we can get in this environment. This is a tough year. Anyways, spiders getting flatlined today here. Engulfing reversal really across the board. You can see on the spiders daily here, just a massive engulfing. Went up there and touched that 100 MA, and then just a pretty much a straight line sell-off across the board. So triple Qs also basically an engulfing. It's very close. Did gap down and rally up a little bit, but the IWM was engulfing, and the diamond also engulfing as well, going up there and kissing that 335 handle. But it did make a new high and then came back and reversed. So a pretty ugly sell-off across the board here, and not even Powell could really save the markets. He came on at 1 o'clock, as did all of the, most of the Fed presidents. Lagarde was there. And he kind of maintained his hawkish stance. His tone of voice is usually what the market keys off of, regardless of what he says. And he just didn't have that soothing tone that he can have at times. And market really just, you got this little bit of short covering right here at about 130. And then it was really just kind of all the way down. Look at the IWM here. I mean, this is like, what, 12 or 14 candles in a row, just straight down, and really in a controlled straight line here. And the one thing that I will say that is very intriguing is the volume is seriously lacking today. There is a serious lack of liquidity right now. Let's look at the spiders here. So we're at just under 70 million shares traded. There's about 15 minutes left in the day, and we're not even at 70 million shares traded. Russell 2000 volume's a little bit, there's a little bit of an uptick here, but it's not heavy volume, the heavy volume that we've come to expect when there's a massive sell. Look at the triple Qs taking out the lows from last week, and again, just barely average volume here. So there is a liquidity kind of issue here going on. That's the one thing that makes me a little suspicious of this rally. So for tomorrow, we're going to need to see follow through, and we want to see a confirmation of this sell-off, essentially. Otherwise, there's really nothing to say they can't just pull a fast one and rip it right back up. They've been doing that for the last 2 weeks, right? We sell off for a couple days and right back up. Then we sell off, then we're up a couple days, and then we pause, and now we're selling off again. So I'm going to need to see some confirmation tomorrow from the bears, really, because this volume is very, very, very suspect. Overall, though, you do have to respect price action. Price action is king. And ultimately, we went up here. We had a chance to break through this inside bar high. We closed below it yesterday, and we're going to easily close below it today as well. Take a look at the E-mini. So there's the ES, and I'll just clean this up here. Let's get rid of these lines. So there we go. So we got above this red bar high here. We had a chance to close above that. And we did, we got above it this morning, again, touching that 100 moving average and then getting rejected. So it does look like the path of least resistance is lower. Again, not a lot of volume there, but we'll have to see what we get tomorrow. If we do break down, you're going to have support right here at 432, but you've already consolidated quite a bit above that. So my next area is about 423, 425, and there is a massive amount of support there. So we'll see if we get down there and if it reacts. Any case, across the board, take a look at Tesla. So they reported yesterday, basically, got up and filled this gap here and then just sold right off. It is still green on the day given how much it gapped up, but obviously a major reversal there. Apple going up and testing that 20 moving average. Couldn't get above this red bar high either, and now coming back in lower. Google also selling off pretty sharply, losing this trend line here. I still think, though, there is a very, very good amount of support here at 2,500. I do think this gets defended here, especially as they don't report earnings till next week. Take a look at Facebook. Basically getting out to double bottom, now coming off the lows here. This is trading lower in sympathy to Netflix. Where I think Facebook gets really intriguing is this trend line right here on the monthly. So you got that 100 moving average. So that's right about 170, 171, 100 moving average, and this kind of trend line here going all the way back to 2015. So that gets interesting down there for me, especially if you if we gap down and really flush hard, I would be very interested in Facebook in that area. Outside of that, semiconductors getting hit, just like everything else, but still holding onto the lows. So that is important. Semiconductors are holding the lows. NVIDIA is getting hit. AMD is getting hit. Intel is actually holding up okay. Intel's a little bit more of a safer play, so maybe it's seeing a little bit more rotation because of that. But semiconductors are holding lows. IGV breaking through last week's lows. There's still a really good area of support right here around 310, 313. So we'll see if that can get a bounce tomorrow. But maybe it comes down to this area here around 309, 307 if it can't hold that. Dow Transport's actually a pocket of strength today. So really only down 45 basis points right now. Good volume here. And you see what we did? Went right back up to this green bar low. This was the breakdown area. So you're returning to that breakdown area. And it is getting a reaction off of that. Again, still not terrible though. And a lot of that has to do with the jets. So United reported really good earnings, indicating that demand was going to potentially return to pre-pandemic levels. And rates also coming back up. Or CSX. CSX also getting a bit off of earnings as well, but also coming off the highs. So getting all the way up to that 38 handle, getting rejected there. Take a look at the jets here, getting rejected at this kind of pivot here around 2350. And the Dow Transports, obviously it's coinciding with that 100 MA and this previous breakdown area. So obviously getting a reaction there. Now, there's still a chance you could put in a higher low. We wouldn't rule that out there on the jets or on the transports. So we'll continue to watch that. But it does look like at the moment this market does want to go lower unless they do some really, really dirty stuff tomorrow and reverse this market. 10-year here making new 52-week highs. So I still think this needs to go up and touch 3% during market hours. It basically touched it the other night in the overnight, but I still think it needs to do it during market hours. 30-year did touch 3%, but now not making a new high today. So we'll continue to watch that. HYG is lower than this pivot. So this tomorrow's close is very critical on this. If it can hold this pivot by tomorrow's close, I would say it's technically saved. But if it doesn't and it loses that, things can get very problematic. XHB, look where this went. So right back up into this trend line here. You can see a little bit better on the ITB. We just put a trend line in right there. So it went right back up into that, rejected, also an engulfing reversal, just like a lot of other things. So home builders are very weak, obviously with rising rates. Not a very good sign there. VNQ got all the way up to let's see what the high of the day was, 113.41. So I told you guys 112, 113 is going to be resistance. That is pulling back, although again, it's holding up okay. Compared to the rest of the market, this isn't the worst look overall. A nice little bullish move, bullish consolidation pattern that we've been watching for the last couple of weeks. And that did play out a little bit, but it is running into resistance as everything is really coming in today. XLF. Pretty ugly reversal again, getting up to that 20-50 moving average, engulfing move there. XBD, not a good look. So you had kind of this bearish chop. You tried to break up, getting rejected at the 20 moving average. And by the way, this 20 moving average was minor. This was not major resistance. So if it's getting rejected that heavily at that moving average, that does show me weakness here. So be very careful with broker dealers right now. Again, they're holding the lows for now, but we'll have to see where they close tomorrow. JP Morgan weak, Bank of America also a weak move off that 20 moving average. Goldman engulfing, as was Morgan Stanley. So lots of weakness there in the financials today. Energy. So crude did hold up. It's actually a pretty surprisingly quiet day. Some of this may have had to do with the airliners saying that there's going to be demand returning to pre-pandemic levels. So maybe that was giving it a little bit of a bid. Overall, still inside of this red bar from Tuesday. So I give it a neutral to bearish bias right now. For right now, you still have lower highs potentially on the chart with equal lows. So again, I still think crude has to go down and test that 85 to maybe lower 80 area overall. Now, XLE, I can finally say something about this. So XLE finally starting to challenge this trend line here. Take a look at Chevron. Possibly a breakdown there on Chevron. Exxon coming back in. Let's look at the XOP. Breaking this. So I've been talking about this rising wedge here. And that is, now starting to be breached a little bit. It's still holding the 20 moving average from now. Again, we may get a bounce off of that, but we'll watch this one for pattern here because I think this is very top heavy. I've been saying that for quite a while now. OIH also with a pretty big sell off here. You could even make a case there's a little trend line kind of in this area, something like that, maybe a little bit lower, somewhere in this range here. I'd have to get it more exact, but either way, coming down, cutting through the 20 moving average. And again, these things are just so overbought, lots of money flow, and they are high on the hog ahead of earnings. So that is something to consider. Anyways, dollar index. Actually, wait, let's go nat gas here. So natty, told you guys 680 would be a level, got down there all the way to 670 and getting a little bit of a bounce. So it is a pause day. I still expect it to resume lower tomorrow, possibly Monday, into this 640, 650 area, wherever this 20 moving average is, shouldn't coincide with where it's going to bounce. You got a lot of support here, this trend line, and the 20 moving average. Now onto the dollar. Red to green day overall still looks pretty top heavy. Again, if rates move higher, this can still move higher. Nothing to say this can't go up to 102. That's kind of where you're where you reversed. So again, it's high on the hog, but again, if rates continue higher, this will also continue higher. Gold, kind of a nothing burger today, just kind of sideways action. GDX did get hit pretty hard though. So that did lose the 20 moving average really for the first time since you got to go all the way back to February. So GDX cutting through that 20 MA, it was just really overbought here. I've been talking about that pretty much every day. It was overbought, needed to come in. So that looks like it may be headed lower. Silver also coming in as well. Looks like it's going to close below that 50 moving average. So if that breaks down, you're probably headed down to 24 bucks in the near term. And SILJ coming back in as well. This looks like a rejected breakout here. You are finding a little support at the 50 and this kind of lower trend line here on the SILJ. Extend that out. You can see right around there is your support. If it broke down, you'd probably go down to about that 13 area before you get a good bounce. Platinum and palladium also kind of quiet. All things considered today, platinum headed a little bit lower and palladium is holding up okay. Copper also holding up all right, all things considered as well. Flipping over here to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, looks like Bitcoin just turned negative. Let's look on the hourly. It was green for quite a while. So yeah, so it looks like it just rolled over on the hourly. So let's take a look here at the technical. So I've been talking about this red bar high here, and we got above that this morning. So I've drawn it in where there's that yellow line there. Now it's not, dead in the water just yet, but that is, a rejection. It could still come back, make a higher low and push through that. But for now, that's your master resistance level. If you can close above that, Bitcoin can go higher. If not, then this likely heads back down. And, again, there's still a good amount of support here in that 38,000 area, but you've already hit it once. So definitely be careful with this in the meantime. But overall, you got to watch that that red bar high there at about 42,441. Ether, same kind of deal. Went up here, basically kissed this red bar high, 20 moving average, and now selling off. But again, if it makes a higher low, there's nothing to say it can't hold up. It hasn't completely broken down yet. You haven't taken out the lows from the 18th. And, if we look at the spiders here, let's flip back over. So spiders, still haven't taken out the lows either. But again, obviously an ugly reversal. Looks like we're seeing a little bit of short covering going on into the close. Some day trader shorts covering, but overall nothing broken on this. Just a nasty, ugly sell-off. And again, not really seeing the suspicious part here is volume here. There's just no volume in this sell-off here. So we'll have to see follow through tomorrow, and we'll see what we get going into the weekend. Obviously, the weekly close is very important as always. Anyways, guys, come find me on carnivoretrades.com. Like, comment, subscribe, etc., and I'll talk to you all tomorrow.